بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are all of you doing? Alhamdulillah. So this is where we stopped last class, Tajweed Book 3, the required stop, and we even saw various different kinds of stop. Required is where the stop on a word where the meaning is explained, and if you don't stop here, the meaning would not be understood. And it is called required, and it follows the waqful kafi, which is sufficient. There is a note here mentioned. Some books, they have a subcategory for both complete and sufficient stop, which is called waqful lazim. But Imam al-Jazari, he did not have these subcategories, and that is why in these books it is explained in this way. We should try to stop on all the tam, which is sufficient, and kafi stop. Where if you see waqful lazim, they have classified it as okay. So we saw the rulings. This was page number 10 of the book, and inshallah we will now begin with the different stop signs which are in the Madina complex printing, the Madina Mushaf, which is printed in KSA in Madina. And this is the one which we have to use to read. It is written in the script of Uthmani script. So we will see there are different small signs. Like for example, if you see this ayah here, on top of the ayah you will sometimes see very small tiny alphabets written, single alphabets. Sometimes like this, 2-3 alphabets, Sawad, Lam and Ya. So what do these signs represent? They are known as stop signs. And as you know, there are different printings of the Quran, and scholars of each different printing, they determined when and where they need to put a sign for stopping. And these different signs have different meanings. So the signs that we are doing are the ones which are found in the Madina Mushaf, and we will see what they actually mean. Why are they put over there? It is a stop sign, meaning there is something related to a stop over there, but they have different meanings. So let us begin. This column here, the first one will be the symbol, the sign that is there on the ayah. This is what the meaning of that sign is, and this is an example. Okay, so we will begin with the small letter Jim. Jim means it is allowed to stop on this word. Okay, you are allowed. Jim is written for the short form of Jaiz. Jaiz means permissible, it's allowed. Okay, so لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. This is the ayah. Here there is a stop sign, so you are allowed to stop over here. You can recite and you can make a stop in case, like if the ayah is too big or you don't have enough breath, you can, at the stop sign, you can always make a stop, and then you can continue from the next one. You don't need to repeat, go back and repeat. And then here there is Sad, Lam and Ya. This stop indicator means it is allowed to stop. Okay, you're allowed to stop, but continuing is more better. Whereas for Jim, it's permissible. If you want, you stop. If you don't want, you can continue. You're permissible to stop. It's jaiz. Whereas here, Sad, Lam, Ya, they are pronounced as Sila. Sila means al-waslul ula. Okay, Sila means al-waslul ula. Wasl means joining, and ula means first. First meaning it's the first preference. So continuing is better over here. So with the sila sign, you will come to know, you can see the swad. With that you can remember wasl. Wasl means join. So when you see sola, you should know that this place continuing is more better, but it's okay if you stop. You're allowed. The ayah example is وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. Okay, I can stop here, but it is better if I just go and continue. وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, and then I can continue whatever would be the next word. The next sign is this one. This is qila. It is pronounced qila, qaf, lam and ya. Here this indicator means you are allowed to stop. Okay, and what is better, it is better to stop. Whereas if you see this one, sila was wasl, what was better to continue. Whereas qila, you can remember with waqf, the qaf is for waqf. You can remember with that. Al-waqf ula. So awwala. Awwala is first preference. Awwala al-waqf awwala. So you are preferred that you stop, make a stop over here, but you are allowed to stop or continue. وهو الحق مصدقا لما معهم. Here it's better, the preference is, you can see qila sign, so it's preferred to stop. The next sign is a small meme. When you see this meme here, the tail is cut off. It's just the meme small sign written. This meme is an indicator which shows you are required to stop. Okay, if you don't stop here, like for in this example, this ayah, if you don't stop here and you continue, the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are going to change, because grammatically you may attach something to the ayah and it is going to completely change the meaning. So it is required that you make a stop here so that the intended meaning is conveyed. فَلَا يَحْزُنْكَ قَوْلُهُمْ, and then you stop. It's a must. You can remember meme for must stop. Then there is a small la over here. You can see la. La in Arabic means no. So the word la is used as an indicator either not to stop here, either not to stop on the mark, or not to stop on the marked word and start on the following word. Sometimes stopping on the word marked this way is allowed, but starting on the next word is not. So what this means is there are two things mentioned here. One is la means don't stop here. So when you're reading this ayah, you will continue. يخرجون الرسول وإياكم أن تؤمنوا بالله ربكم. So you will just continue. The other thing mentioned is or not to stop on the mark word and start on the following word. Like if you do like this, يخرجون الرسول وإياكم أن تؤمنوا بالله ربكم. So you stop and you just continue from the next one. That is not, you're not supposed to do that. That you will stop here and you will continue from the next word. So what you need to do, if by chance because of breath you know, or you're sneezing and you stopped here, you don't continue from next. You have to go back. You have to go behind and then continue, because this place is la. You cannot stop here. And sometimes stopping on the word marked this way is allowed, but you cannot start on the next word. You have to go back. Okay, so alhamdulillah, that completes all the stop topics that are mentioned in this book, and we already saw which were the ones which were mentioned. And the next topic in the next lesson is the start, al-ibtida. Ibtida is from bada'a. Bada'a means to begin or to start. So al-ibtida is the start, the noun form of the start. So let's begin about start. The start in the perception of scholars of recitation refers to resummation or recitation after cutting off or of the reciting or stopping. So just now we did the various kinds of stop, where all we can stop, how we should stop. So once you stop, after that when you resume your recitation, or if you're cut off from because of any reason, if you're cut off from your recitation, then after that when you resume, so that is what is in this lesson. The start is only by choice, in contrast to the stop. Just give me a second. So for stop, what did we mention? That the ones which we had done were the ones which we are compelled to stop, we are forced to stop, like because of breath or sneezing or hiccups. So the start, in contrast to that, start is only by choice. So the stop can be, you can by choice you can stop, or you're compelled to stop, but start is only by choice. There is no such thing as you're compelled to start. So for that reason, it is demanded of the reader when beginning that he or she start her or his recitation with an independent phrase that conveys the intended meaning. not attached to that which precedes it grammatically. So because we are starting only by our own choice, what we need to do is, whenever we start, we should start with something that is independent, that conveys the full meaning, which is independent of itself, which conveys the meaning which is intended. It should not be attached to what precedes it in grammatical terms. Why? Because if something is attached to the previous words in grammar, you cannot break it, because breaking it changes the meaning. So whenever we start, we should know that we are making a start where the meaning is complete and intended meaning is there. So what is the rule of start? You are allowed to begin with what comes after a complete or sufficient stop. So we already saw what was a complete stop and what was a sufficient stop. And if you noted that these were where the meaning was complete, or grammatically they were not attached to the next one. So in these cases, you can begin with what comes after this. You're allowed to start with that which comes after a good stop only if it is the end of an ayah. We also saw what a good stop was, and uh, if you want to start after a good stop, then that you can do only if it is at the end of an ayah. If it is in the middle, then you need to go back a few words. So to understand start, first thing that is required is we understand the various kinds of stops very well. Once we know that, only then we will know where we are supposed to start. So that is why the stop topic was covered first, and it is. I know you may not remember it right now, so you need to just keep revising and reading it very often so that you understand it completely. If you want, take down a piece of paper, note it down, make charts, diagrams, whatever you want. You can even share in the group for your benefit, for others' benefits. And it will help, inshallah. When you make charts and write it down, it will fit in your mind very well. So once you know what kind of stop you are doing, then you will know where you need to make the start. Now there is a note here. This is only after a waqf and not after qata. Waqf means a stop, and qata means a cutting of recitation. Okay, so what is mentioned here, the rule is only after a stop. When you make a stop, it is not for the cutting off of recitation. Now the start, when we do start, we have two kinds of start, or two types of start. One is the allowed start, al-ibtida al-jaiz, which is allowed or permissible, and one is of course that start which is not allowed, al-ibtida ghayr jaiz. Like how we saw qabih, repulsive stop, like that you have ibtida qabih also, the start that is not allowed. So you should know which start is allowed for you, which is not allowed. So we will do the allowed start, al-ibtida al-jaiz. It is starting with an independent, meaningful phrase that makes clear the connotation that Allah desires and does not contradict it. So what is the allowed start? Whenever you're doing a start, if the start is independent in meaning, it has a full meaning, and whatever Allah has intended, it is conveying that, it is not conveying something that is contradictory, then that is called an allowed start. All starts after waqf tam, which is a complete stop. Now here the stop is complete, or al-waqful kafi, which is the stop is sufficient. So anything that you start after this is allowed. But starts after qata means cutting off recitation. So if it is a qata, if you have cut off your recitation, then that should only be after a complete stop, only if it is a complete stop. Waqf tam, starting after waqf hasan. This is what was mentioned above all the rules for the start. Waqf hasan, which is a good stop, is starting after this is allowed only when only if the next start is the beginning of an ayah, meaning if the hasan stop is at the end of an ayah. So if the start is the beginning of the ayah, and this ibtida can only be after a waqf, never after a qata. Again, this is only after a waqf, which is a stop, not a qata, not a cutting off of recitation. Many scholars, they call ibtida after a waqf tam, tam is complete. They call it as a ibtida tam, which is complete stop. And ibtida, which is a start after a waqf kafi, which is a sufficient stop, they call it as ibtida kafi, which is a sufficient start. And the start after a waqf hasan, they call it ibtida hasan, a good start. We repeat the warning one more time. Ibtida al hasan, the good start, is allowed only at the beginning of an ayah which follows al waqf al hasan, which was at the end of the previous ayah. Now we will do the start that is not allowed. Definition: it is the start that cancels out the intended meaning or corrupts it or changes it. There are some kinds of start wherein it is connected something to the previous ayah, or if it is not connected, connecting it would change the meaning, the meaning what is intended, or it will corrupt the ayah or change it. That is what is ghayru jaiz. Al-ibtida ghayru jaiz. Al-ibtida can in this case run from aqbah to qabih, from qabih to aqbah, meaning qabih is repulsive and aqbah is the most repulsive. One type of ibtida qabih, which is repulsive start, is when you begin with that which is attached to what preceded it grammatically. So grammatically in meaning it is attached previously. So if you start here, you are doing something incomplete. So this is not allowed. And the other is ibtida aqbah. Aqbah is the most repulsive, is when you start with a word wherein the meaning will completely change. This is what I was mentioning here initially, that either you're starting at something which is attached to the previous ayah, or something that is not attached to the previous ayah, and when you attach it with the previous words, not only ayah but the previous words, it will lead to a meaning other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has intended, or a meaning that is in disagreement or contradictory with our aqidah. So purposely starting in one of these places is sinful. Now it so happens, like, many of us, we don't know the meaning of what we are reciting. We just know to read Arabic. We do not know the meanings of what we are saying. Some of them would not even know the rules of how to stop, how to start. So you may just do anything of this, like, you will read an ayah and you will not stop somewhere where you are supposed to stop, and you will just continue, and the meaning would completely change. Like that small meme, must stop. You're supposed to stop there. If you don't, it will change the meaning. So what happens is, if you're not doing it, if you're doing it without knowing, then it's fine, and but you need to learn slowly. But if you do not, if you already know and you're purposely doing it, then this is sinful. Examples are here in Surah Al-Baqarah, for example. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا, and they say Allah has begotten a son. Then over here, لَقَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ فَقِيرٌ وَنَحْنُ أَغْنِيَاءُ. Indeed, Allah has heard the statement of those who say, truly Allah is poor and we are rich. وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبَّاؤُهُ. This is Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah number 18. And both the Jews and Christians say, we are the children of Allah and His loved ones. A stop may be hasan, which is a good, and starting on what follows qabih or repulsive. Because sometimes what may happen, a stop may be good, it may be a hasan stop, like here, yukhrijuna rasul, there's this asterisk mark here, okay. But if you continue, then that sometimes may be a repulsive start, if it ruins the intended meaning. Like over here, this is Surah Al-Mumtahina, ayah number 1, yukhrijuna rasul, okay. And then when you start on the next one, like a reader stopping on the word rasul would be stopping on a waqf hasan, okay, the meaning is there proper. But if you start like this, wa iyyakum an tu'minu billahi rabbikum, what does it mean? This is a repulsive start. The meaning would then that be of a warning, stating that be careful not to believe in Allah, like wa iyyakum, and all of you, an tu'minu billahi rabbikum. So obviously this is a very bad start indeed. It's really very bad. So we should take care not to do these. So inshallah we will end the lesson here, and we will next class see what is meant by cutoff. Whatever we did in the first lesson was all about the stop signs, sorry, all about the stop, that when you're compelled to stop. And in the start we mentioned some places where cutoff was mentioned, so we will see next class what the cutoff is. So inshallah I'll end the class here. If you have any queries, you can just post them in the group. You can send audios or you can type it out, you can send me separately, no problem. So alhamdulillah, inshallah I will end the class here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.